it's always nice to see familiar pictures and names, and it's always a fun event too. So as always, to preface this meeting, if you have anything at all to say, feel free to just unmute yourself. And ask your question. We do have a what did I do something bad at being taken to the principal office? We do have a pretty packed agenda, and I'll give you. But first, before we get into it, does anybody have any comments? We're past the first week of PMTP. Lesko, do you want to talk a little bit? I know that Nick had earlier sent a message in the PMTP proposals about some of the results of PMTP. Did you want to talk about that real quick? I don't want to put you on the spot.
I can also do it. Hi, I'm there. I just joined.
Nick, you're here yourself. We have all the PMTP council in the house.
Yeah, so you guys want to know some numbers of today? I already posted like a recent update in the PMTP thread. If any of you guys that are in this office hours is not already in the PMTP thread, I can very much recommend to go in there. So yeah, since PMTP started, it's like around about 7 days ago, nearly exactly. We have like around about 12% more external assets pooled on Civ Chain. We have even more TVL, of course. That's around about 30% in USD terms. That's because, like, probably most of you have already noticed, because the pool balance is not like 50-50, but the value that is pooled in Rowan now is higher. So like the protocol incentivizes Rowan holders even more, one could say, I think. And I think one very interesting metric is that while we only have an increase of external assets of about 12% in USD terms, that has increased like 26% when we use Atom as a nominator. So I think this first week was perceived very, very well by the market. Of course, so far we couldn't have like so much unboundings. I think the first unboundings that might have occurred just like arrived maybe 1 hour ago. But I think everyone is pretty much happy with the PMTP policy, like how we have it now. And yeah, let's definitely chat more about how PMTP policies should change in the next weeks.
Awesome, thank you, Nick. Lesko, do you have anything that you want to add on as well?
Well, I can just say that, as Nick said, we're monitoring the trends. IBC transfers are happening, very active. It's mostly inbound. Outbound is twice less. I looked today. We're pumping 7.5 million just in the last 24 hours in, and around 3.9 in IBC volume out. So Osmosis remains the main channel. I think the trades are very active on arbitrageurs trading and helping close any kind of imbalance in the pools. Right now, we're not seeing anything abnormal. We continue to monitor the liquidity available, Rowan liquidity available on Osmosis. Everything remains stable. Volume today kicked up a little bit, but that's because during the weekdays, people trade more. It dropped significantly on Saturday and Sunday, which is the usual. We don't see any crazy trades. I caught some 100,000, 120,000 trades, like 20, 30,000 batches, as our opportunities are being used. Everything looks stable. Price continuously been going up. Again, the USDC and Atom pools remain the more popular ones where liquidity is being added. And then the talks of the Terra relayer have started occurring, that maybe it's functioning or being tested. So look forward to seeing how that angle will be used, because I'm just excited that there might be more liquidity being added to USD at some point. And the conversations with PMTP team and now the developers and Jazzy and everyone involved started about the phase 2 of PMTP. Nick kicked it off with a post, but we are still brainstorming what's the best approach, and then we will be speaking with the community about that.
Awesome. Thank you, Lesko, and thank you, Nick. It's always so great to hear your updates. And I do want to, I know that Sif Moon also has some updates for us. I would like to hold on to this thought, though, about the future PMTP policies. We will absolutely be getting to that in this call. I know that both Lesko and Nick have some thoughts on that. And as always, because this is a DAO, the community feedback for future policies is going to be a large determining factor in how policies work, right? Because we have this sample size and you guys help us understand the overall market, the market's responses to the policies. So with community buy-in is the most important, and we will absolutely get to that in this call today. Sifmoon, do you want to pop on real quick to talk about bug fixes and what's going on on the development side of things?
Yeah, for sure. So we have a Notion doc that's publicly facing if anyone wants to go in and see. I try to go in there at least once a day, if not more, to update any of the statuses on the outstanding bugs or some of the enhancements that were requested, just to give kind of like as much transparency into like where things stand right now and how things are progressing. So I believe the Notion doc was attached in our in our announcement today for anyone who wants a little bit more of a deeper dive on the list of bugs that we're working through. But just to comment on a couple of like super high priority ones. One which isn't directly related to PMTP or Sif's Ascension, but I'll mention it since Lesko just mentioned it, is about the Terra relayer. We basically we're at the point now that the Terra client has been unexpired on the Sif chain side. The relayer is up and running right now. We're basically, us and our IBC relayer provider, who's actually running the relayer, are just keeping an eye on it to essentially just make sure its stability is good enough to like kind of like re-enable it. So for all intents and purposes, like it's up right now, it's working, it all looks well. We just don't want to rush into it and then get for some random case, in case we get in a situation of what happened before. So we're just being like extra cautious on this, to be honest, at this point. It's just been such a long game, and to get to this point in time, we're just being really, really, really cautious and making sure that we're not rushing into things. So it's up and running right now. We have not re-enabled anything in the front end yet, because again, we want to make sure that we're not rushing things too much and kind of like at the last foot line, last yard line right now, and we just want to make sure that we have like one final check of our list before we open it up. So I'm hoping that's going to be in the next day or two. I'll check in with our relay provider tomorrow morning when I wake up, see if everything looks okay, what their thoughts on it are, if we re-enable in the front end. But yeah, so that's one about the connection between us and Terra. And the second one is our ledger devices and working completely in the DEX. I actually just got a message from our director of engineering. They're still working on a fix for this. Weirdly enough, like I'll keep it at high level, but essentially we've like full blown ledger support like is coming in SDK version 0.45, which we're not on yet. So up until that point, like we've been kind of like doing this custom solution to support Ledger, which has been working so far until we did our most recent deployment, and because like unbonding doesn't work anymore, or I guess never worked, because we didn't have an unbond feature before. So we're instead of just waiting for 0.45, which we'll get like full-fledged Ledger support across the board, we're working on just another custom solution to get it out the door to get these basically all functionality operating in the DEX. They were working on that yesterday. the last couple of days, but they got really close on it yesterday. And we're testing it this morning. And the update I just got is that it's probably going to be another day or two until they feel really comfortable in releasing the fix for it. After it's fixed and tested, it will go into because it's a CIF node change, it'll have to go through a proposal, a governance proposal, and then a new version will have to be deployed to all of our validators. So that includes a 4-day voting window as well to get that into beta net. But there is movement happening on it right now. We're currently testing our solution for it, and hopefully that should be raised as a governance proposal really soon. Which you all will see. The moment we raise it, everyone will be aware of it, and our validators will be aware of it as well. For the other kind of like major issues that people were seeing yesterday across the board, there's a lot of performance issues that a lot of people noticed throughout the day yesterday. As some of you may have noticed, it was primarily due to our RPC calls and our load. We're getting a lot more traffic to the DEX than we had previously had. So while it's like a good problem, it's still not okay. We want to it's a problem we want to fix. So our DevOps team worked pretty late last night to get it to a spot where it's way more stable and way more speedy, which hopefully everyone understands or can see at this point in interacting with the DEX today. But yeah, we've just been getting, obviously with how things have been performing in the DEX, how the price of Rowan has been performing over the last 2 weeks, especially in the market that we're in, and just the launch of Sys Ascension and PMTP, we're getting a lot more eyes on us, which is bringing a lot more traffic into the DEX, which obviously brings just really good stuff, but also can bring some issues, and that was just something we were dealing with yesterday. So hopefully, if you experience any slowness in the DEX, huge apologies for it. That should be fixed mostly across the board. We're still keeping an eye on it, and we'll react accordingly. But all other in progress bugs, they're kind of like lower priority from the ones that I just mentioned, but in that Notion doc. Anytime that I update it, I try to update the date in that doc as well, the last updated date, just so you guys can see we are taking a look at it in case I update like the status or any notes on it or anything like that. We'll make sure to keep you guys in the loop with announcements and stuff, especially as we release some of these fixes. One big thing that has really helped us out a lot, and I'll just reiterate because I think Abra and Nomad have said this before, but bringing issues up when you experience them actually helps us out a lot. So it's the easiest and quickest way for us to discover something and then to jump on it. So please continue to do that as you interact with the DEX. If you notice something, please continue to bring it up to us because it helps us just making sure that we can pounce on it really quickly when needed to. That's all I have right now. Hopefully we have some really good news about the Ledger situation in the next day or two, and then hopefully we have really good news on the Terra relayer being back up and running in the next day or two as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Sifmoon. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Just as one final note to that, I will add that the issues we were seeing with Ethereum imports and I believe MetaMask wallets are fixed. Those have been... Can everyone hear me? Yeah, okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't know if I was muted. Those have been fixed, and so we are good there. Like Sifmoon said, thank you for bringing these things up. It's really important. We're always in Discord listening. Nomad is really, I don't know when she sleeps, or she says she's always sleeping, but in fact, it seems to me that she's always online, so I don't I don't know where the paradox is, but Nomad's really on top of everything that's going on in Discord, and as you know, if you have a problem, just reach out, and I'm sure she'll or one of us will hear. So, does anybody have any comments on the bug section or any questions for us?
I have something, if you guys can hear me now. I wasn't working last time. Okay. So what I'm noticing is there are no issues that go unanswered, but the communication of what's being worked on, what estimated time of completion, who's working on it, those types of things. If there was some, correct me if I'm wrong, and there may be because I'm fairly new to the channel, but is there some type of a bot that can be somebody that existing users that are, supportive of the decks but still have concerns, can just type up something and a bot can come up and show who's working on what the estimated time of completion is. That way the new users, because there is a lot joining, and they're asking questions where the repetitive answers, we're going to do it, but what I see actually is causing the most problem is the personalities, to try to get everybody informed and then have the personalities mesh to be able to get the point across, depending on who's irritated or who's having a great time and who's feeling the humor and who's not. There is some frustration being created, and I think that everybody involved would benefit from just having something like that, rather than going to announcements or saying, check announcements or check the office hours. Having something where we could just type it into the chat and it will pop up and it will show what the team's actively working on. And it would be very clear. It will be an official capacity, and the bot doesn't have a personality. So that's why I think it would be advantageous for the team to have something like that. And if we already have it, I would like to know how to use it.
Yeah, we don't have anything. It's a good point, Stampede. We don't have anything like that right now. Honestly, like in best case scenario, and what we want to get to is that so the tools that we use internally, we use a tool called ZenHub, which is just a project management tool that's built directly on top of GitHub. And in a perfect world, if anyone's been to our bounty board, they can see the issues that are created in our bounty board. And if you have ZenHub downloaded, you can actually see, like in a Kanban style board, like the status of all those bounties. Well, our goal is that we actually like open up our ZenHub board or our GitHub board. So if anyone's interested at any time, they can see exactly what ticket is in what status, who's working on what. They can see what's in development. They can see all the comments that are made on it. They can see what's in code review. They can see it's what testing. Like you'd be able to see like literally in what swim lane is what ticket, that ticket's description, and then comments that were being made on it. And then also the way that GitHub and ZenHub works, which is kind of why it's really cool, is that the issue itself can be linked to the PR request as well. So if you're a developer, you can actually see, hey, what was the fix? Why, like, how did they fix this? How did they, what was the change that was made? And you can kind of learn from it as well. That's like future state of what we're really trying to get to, is like, full-fledged open source development. We're developing, completely open to the community. The community can see exactly what it is that we're working on. We're definitely not to that point yet. Like we have to, obviously, like that sounds incredible. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in order to get to that point. But yeah, I don't know. I could definitely chew on it with the team to see like what improvements we can make in the meantime as like a stepping stone in that direction. The Notion doc was a way to get to that point of like, okay, how can we make just like little baby steps in terms of transparency and what's being worked on and the status of it. But I definitely hear your feedback that it could be a little bit more tightened up, especially as new users come in.
Yeah, I think,
and are curious.
Yeah, I think it's mainly just to manage the sentiment and the energy. I mean, the energy's, I mean, it's great. It's positive. It's going great. It's just that I do see with more users coming on board, more changes going to take place, and we're going to be adjusting and adapting. That it would be nice to have something like that type of a feature. But managing the sentiment's not really hard now. But every once in a while, there's some tough ones that get in there that are relentless, and it would just be nice to put an end to the major concerns or the, for lack of a better term, paranoia about, distrust and stuff like that. So I think it's just in order to build trust, it might, be advantageous. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't have any complaints so far. I just see that as a way to make things a little bit more seamless. I know that we can type, or not me, but some users or mods can type some type of code where it brings up a bot that has certain types of information. If there is a log that the developers on the back end have for what's what's on the schedule to fix, if that could be all consolidated on some type of a live list and automatically uploaded to the bot to present that when the that would be something that I think might work as well.
There is like a public ticket support ticket thing on GitHub or ZenHub. They're pretty much the same, where I've been trying to remember lately to like link more when someone asks about a bug or something that we're working on. I try to link them the ticket so they can just like Sif Moon said, just kind of see exactly what's going on, if it's being tested, what part of the, what stage are they at in resolving it. But I don't know. Ducky would be would probably be able to figure out some sort of bot that connected to those tickets. It just depends on which tickets are, like cool to share with everyone. Doesn't have any like sensitive information in it. You know what I mean? Like we would have to figure out,
Sure.
which ones are that we can actually link.
Well, there would be a double benefit as well, because it would probably lower the amount of support tickets that get submitted for reasons that would have been answered already too. So it might alleviate that side of it as well. So it could be like just a redirection of some of the energy. But that's it. I don't want to take anybody, any more of anybody's time.
No, it's a really interesting point. And I mean, just managing the flow of information is definitely something that as the community grows, you increasingly need more channels for information to flow to. We've recently found that despite having daily announcements that contain a fair amount of information about everything that's going on, it ends up being that people, usually the ones that have the helpful people tag, and we appreciate all of you so much, so thank you. It ends up being that maybe, I don't even know if we can use the Pareto principle here and say that 20% of the people read it, but that a few community members read it, and then they also help distill this information to others. So just being more efficient about how we channel the information coming through is also something that we want to improve on. And I don't know, the reason that I think a bot is difficult is because, especially if you have to manually do it, I think that like Nomad said, if we could hook it up to like a repo or something and have it be going automatically, it would be a really good solution. But having to manually update like 7 independent places can get quite tiresome and not so efficient.
Can I say something?
Please.
Even something as simple as a bot that reads for keywords and then just posts a link to the announcements channel, because the announcements channel does have a ton of information regarding the questions that keep coming up. Even just something as simple as that, somebody mentions something and a bot just says, read the announcements. And you can just click that and it'll take you there. People don't do it.
No one reads the announcements. I know we have like 300 tickets open right now, and they're all things that are in the, like, not all of them, but a lot of them are for things that are in the announcements. I'm just like, I try to be nice, but I get to a point where I'm just like, yeah, just check the announcements.
I think the communication in the announcements has been top notch for someone who's been reading them anyways.
Yep.
I think they're great.
Well, sure. Abra, I told you to put in the next announcement that you need to tell people to read the announcements. Did you do that?
No, I forgot to do it. I'll send everyone an everyone ping. I'll send an everyone ping now and get everyone to read it. Imagine the people that don't usually read the announcements, and then they see this ping, they finally look, and all it says is read the announcements. It's quite funny, but thanks guys for the suggestions. It is interesting to explore. Nomad, I guess if you want to do something with the keywords, it could be interesting.
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah.
Okay, and so another note is we do have, if you go to the announcements, you will see that recently we've posted a variety of bounties. I see that there's at least 2 people in here that I'm aware of that have an engineering background. And I think that there are more of you that are also content creators. We have been posting bounties. If you go to the creative bounties section of Discord, we have a channel created for it. If you go to this channel, you will see various content creation bounties. Some of them are open to anyone. Some of them you have to make a proposal. It's kind of like an RFP in that you make your proposal for what your plan is, and then we will select you to do the bounty. There's various opportunities with various awards for completing these bounties. An engineering-specific bounty is the XDeFi integration for the XDeFi wallet. You can check that out on Gitcoin, and you can also pop over to the announcements to read more about that, as well as the content creation bounties. So I'll just pause for a minute. Does anybody have any thoughts on the bounties? Have you had a chance to look at them? Are they something that interests you? Please do let us know so we can also continue to iterate on this process. Okay, nothing there. So the next point on the agenda is on Friday. I want to let everyone know so you can mark your calendar. There have been quite a few questions about PMTP. So what we've decided to do is on Friday, we will be hosting a 90-minute event with Jazir. And if you have any questions about PMTP, you can submit them now in the PMTP questions channel, which is under support. It's one of those yellow channels, PMTP questions. Please do submit your questions if you have them, or feel free to ask them now, or feel free also to ask them on Friday. But we want to have as many questions as possible so we can have a really well-structured event, and also make sure that everyone that comes to this event feels educated, informed, and able to make up their own mind about what PMTP is, how it works, and why it's either good or bad in your own opinion. We're pretty confident in it, but it's good to be educated about these things as well. So please do tune in. This will be on Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. You can see that in the announcements. And that is going to be a really interesting event. So please do tune in. Any questions on that or comments? Cool. If you have one, just at any time, feel free to interrupt me. On a different note, we have various proposals that have recently passed. If you go on MintScan, you can see them. One of them was we've recently expanded the active set of validators from 100 to 115. The signaling proposal to change the LP subsidy factor and max base APR factor has passed. And essentially, that's a lot of words to say. That we have kept the target APR from CIFS Ascension pools at the levels that were indicated. The staking APR, so all of the APRs for the liquidity mining rewards are based off of what's called this LP subsidy factor and max base APR. And these are multipliers of staking APR. And because the validator delegations were recently completed, the target APRs from CIFS Ascension dropped. And so it was Dreamcatcher that raised a proposal to increase these to stay on track with those targets. And then, as Sifmoon had said, the IBC client update proposal has passed. And now we just have some testing to do before the Terra relayer is enabled back on the front end, hopefully. What's up, Sofa Ninja? Okay. So that is it about proposals. If anybody has any comments, please let us know. And on to the next point. So we also have and have had, I have a couple more topics, and then I will pass it over to Nick and Let's Go for some discussions on the PMTP policies. So I don't know if any of you have been keeping track, but we recently saw a new token listed on the DEX, and this is Starname. You can find it under the ticker IOV. So IOV was added to the DEX. It currently doesn't have any reward multiplier, I think. Let me double check that. It doesn't currently have a reward multiplier, but it is the first of many new tokens to be added. In the coming days, we will see many new token additions. And if any of you have any recommendations, please let us know for IBC tokens. So are there, just real quick, a question. Are there any IBC tokens that you guys absolutely want to see on the DEX ASAP?
Comdex.
Comdex? Okay. Anything else? Evmos?
Absolutely.
Evmos. Secret?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so we'll... What's up, Skeletor? Shade.
Shade. Yeah.
Shade is a great idea. So we do have Sifmoon. Do you want to? Is Sifmoon still here? I know he had to bounce out early. No, he seems to have left. I was going to see. We do have a list of a lot of IBC tokens lined up, and I believe at the top of that list is Evmos, Secret, Comdex, and then there's also a whole gamut of Cosmos tokens to list. I don't remember seeing Shade on the list, but I'll follow up about that absolutely. And then if you guys do have anything, so I don't know if any of you had the chance to read it, but the Token Listing Council recently wrote an article. They've been doing a great job, and for those of you that were at the town hall, you heard a little bit of an update. They've been doing a great job. They meet every week with a list of tokens to get listed on the DEX. And they designed a really nice process for this using a token matrix that took into account various factors, such as the community size of the other tokens and the other other yield opportunities, just various factors that would be important when adding a token to the DEX. And if any of you are curious about that, you can also ask them. Essentially, they had compiled this large list of tokens for us, Sifcore, to get listed, but we had kind of blocked them on that because a lot of the team was focused on either repairing the bugs on the DEX or just working on Peggy or launching PMTP or fixing SIF's expansion or getting ready for SIF's ascension, because as you all know, there's a lot going on. But now finally we have the bandwidth freed up, and so they will be doing a lot more also regarding token listings. So if you do have any listings, feel free to tag any of them. We'll get you there. If any of you are confused what the Token Listing Council is, it's essentially a council that is responsible for curating the tokens on the DEX and will soon be helping to attract liquidity to them and bootstrap the pools and perform various other functions. So please do reach out to any of them. I don't know if you can tag them. I don't think so, right, Nomad? The tagging privilege.
I can tag
Token
them,
listing.
yeah. Or you can too, I think.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so if any of you have it, what's up, Skeletor? Sure.
I have a question. Is it possible now to implement external rewards now that SIF is gaining momentum? I think it's the right moment to attract external liquidity with external incentives.
So it's not currently possible, but I know that was one of the things that the team wanted to put in the next iteration of SIF's Ascension, but right now it's not possible.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And also I saw some that Terra you can also apply, and it seems I read a story of a DEX that has like 2 million TVL that recently brought over like $500,000 of UST liquidity, which does anybody know any more about that? It struck me as a bit ridiculous.
anyone hearing anything? Is the sound working?
Yeah,
We
I can hear you.
Okay. I thought it was me. I left and then I rejoined, but I think it was Abra actually.
Yeah, I think it's Abra.
Hey, sorry, I think I cut out. Am I back?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, cool. Sorry, Nick, were you just in the process of saying
No,
something?
not at all. I think you cut off when you mentioned the DeFi project on Terra. It was, I think, with the 2 billion TVL increase, or that they just launched. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which project it is. But I also saw a tweet about it, but I haven't really dig into it anything.
It was a totally unimportant point. So it's nice you all had a break from my rambling anyway. But yeah, that's about all for the updates from the agenda. We do have various tools developed by the community. I see CryptoMaster Flex is here, or he was. He looks like he is not here anymore. But CryptoMaster Flex had developed a spreadsheet to track rewards. NM Node has developed also a really cool way that you can view your total asset balance on SIFchain. And Dreamcatcher is working with SR from Fastnodes to develop another way to track your rewards. And last I heard, they're expecting to have that out tomorrow. Don't hold me to that, but they are expecting to have it out tomorrow. So there's a lot of tools being built by the community, which is really awesome to see. And yeah, I think that's about everything from the agenda. We are going to be having another proposal to the Frax community. If you would like more information about that, please reach out. If you want to just look over the proposal or get involved, see how you can help, please reach out to me. It will be a pretty decent chunk of liquidity for FXS and more Frax. So again, just reach out if you want to get involved with that. And Nick, let's go. Do you guys want to take it from here to discuss future PMTP policy and maybe just get some insight into that discussion?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? So I think the real discussion will probably or should probably happen in writing, like in the Discord thread, for example, because I think it's easier for everyone to just catch up because not everyone is in this office hours. But maybe to just get everyone up to date. So as most of you probably know, the first 2 weeks we have 5% PMTP increases per epoch, and the 6 weeks after, so that is let me see, that's May 3rd to June 14th. We have a range of 1.5 to 4% PMTP increases per epoch, and that's obviously a pretty wide range that we can operate in. And now it's important that we as the PMTP Council gauge the interest of how people in the community feel about changes to the PMTP increases, because obviously it's not necessarily healthy for the protocol to just storm through with 5% PMTP until forever. That's that's of course also not working. So yeah, I think we should have a discussion around whether we should taper it slowly down, whether we should like have lower PMTP policy for some time, then maybe have the option of increase that again, lower that again. That's super flexible, and we will learn, I think, a lot of it through like experimentation, because even though it's only monetary policy similar to something like liquidity mining rewards, it's still something new. So yeah, I think we will gather a lot more data and better understand how it really works in the market. But so far the perception has been really well, I think. So yeah, if anybody has some opinions on how we should maybe change the PMTP policies within the range, then yeah, I'm very eager to hear them. Let's go. Do you want to add something or just let the people talk?
Yeah, let's see if people have questions. Okay, it doesn't seem like. Well, I just want to add that keep in mind that as Nick mentioned, purchasing power increase was never meant to be, that substantial and high in perpetuity. So the tapering would have happened at some point in the future in any case. And so we are now just trying to find the sweet spot between significant drop or just an immaterial one that will continue this momentum, help us grow without creating any disappointment of all the various safe chats joining or hearing about it. And then the team is very optimistic and confident in this. And then we hope to attract more liquidity, hopefully maybe some other bigger names, big investors with marketing initiatives that are going to take place. Keep in mind that PMTP in general can be increased and decreased. So it's not like it would be end of the world if we half it or go to some lower number than you expected, and then we would notice that the growth is not on par with our expectations. We can change for the next period as we see fit. At some point, also purchasing power might be actually decreased to try to even the ratio in the pools. So it's very fluid, and just the community will have a say in it, and then everyone, the developers, Jazzy, Abra, Nomad, will contribute to these discussions. So we'll try to come up with the best option. And yeah, that's it. I mean, and one more thing. It has been 7 days and slightly over an hour since Ascension started. So the unlocking period is happening now. We can't really say how the team or the people would behave. So the next few days would really show us. Our expectation is, or predictions are, that people will remain locked and then continue to auto compound. There will not be an unusual amount of selling, but it's all TBD. We keep watching, and just by looking at the stats, the net in the last 24 hours, because again everything was still locked, the net was 836,000 added and TVL in the last. That's 0.6% growth. So let's put a pin in it and see where we come out next 2 days, tomorrow and the day after, and we'll keep reporting.
Yeah, so I think there was a lot of talk from us. So does anybody has any opinion that they want to share here in the office hours on PMTP changes? If that's not the case right now, I will link the link to the PMTP thread later after this call in the general chat, so everybody can join the discussion there. Maybe I can just give, as we have still a few minutes left, I can maybe give some further context. So since PMTP started, we saw net buying of Rowan. So that means that more Rowan was bought than sold. And this buying pressure was also more than what has been emitted in Rowan rewards, because as you guys know, every week or every block actually, we now have Rowan automatically auto-compounded into the pools. So every block Rowan is injected to the pools. That creates an arbitrage opportunity over time that builds and builds up. Then external liquidity in most cases is added either for USDT or for ROAN, because USDT is the reference pair or ROAN as the base pair. So people can actually utilize on these ARB opportunity. And what happens with that is that the external assets are also growing on SwiftChain, which is what we also saw, because if we nominated in Atom, the external assets have increased by around 30% since PMTP started. And that's the metric we actually want to see. This is this positive feedback loop that we talked about or anticipated earlier, or hoped for, let's say it like that, hoped for earlier, that an increase in price will not demotivate people to enter SwiftChain, but rather give them more confidence in the value of the underlying asset and enter SwiftChain. That's just for some more context, maybe. But yeah, I think the main discussion is best to happen in the PMTP thread. Anyway.
Yeah, that
Can I
sounds
add
good.
something in regards to that?
Yeah, sure. Of course.
So I've just noticed that the asymmetric toggle button is off. Is that going to be turned back on so people are able to deposit the outside assets and take advantage of this opportunity?
It will absolutely be turned back on. We're just fixing a bug with it that was pointed out.
Sounds great. Thank you.
It was incurring a lot of slippage, and so we want to protect all the users from pooling in this way. In the meantime, good question.
Gotcha. Thank you.
But what you could always do is just use the swap function and swap the external asset to ROAN and then pool it symmetrically, because that's pretty much the same as an asymmetric add. Like if you want to enter with only Atom when you don't have any ROAN in the first place, then you could also just swap like your Atom and then add it symmetrically until the bug is fixed.
And that's probably a good time to point out what Nick was saying also, that the way that AMMs work, and I think a key place where people are confused about PMTP is because they don't have this fundamental understanding, is that the way that AMMs work is that when you add liquidity to a pool, you are allocated a certain pool balance or pool share. And so if the AMM is set at a certain pool balance, if there is an arbitrage opportunity, which means that the dollar value of one token is not equal to what the pool balance dollar value should be, I wish I could use my hands, but you can think of it as a lever, in that if the left side of the seesaw is up, if you sit on that seesaw, at that point you get a larger pool share, which incentivizes people to continue. Not only, arbitrageurs trade against the pool, which obviously also helps to balance it by buying and selling assets until it reaches the optimal price. But by adding liquidity in this way, it also encourages liquidity providers to get larger pool shares by adding at different rates. And so just a little bit more context about how AMMs work and is always useful for understanding what's going on behind those mechanics. So,
But I guess just to sort of add to that, some of the Discord members may have read what Dreamcatcher said yesterday, and I also understand what he meant is that to take full advantage of purchasing power, single asset binding with ROAN would maximize, Dreamcatcher said, the benefits of PMTP. But what Abra said, and Nick also alluded to, is that if you do a single side asset, and what just Abra described now, that there will be certain slippage. So each time it could be very dynamic and very unpredictable in a sense. What works as a two asset binding today might not be as beneficial tomorrow, and the other way around. Just if you're buying only raw and one asset locking, then slippage might be just not for you, make it that profitable anymore, just for now. And then so there's no really right or wrong. I think given our very generous rewards, if you don't try to time it and just go, if the intent is to mine already, and then this is your thesis, this is your investment thesis, the approach, then it doesn't really matter. You can swap and lock because that you intended to do it anyway. There's no point on waiting until the single asset option for locking will come back. But if you're not sure or you're just playing or just experimenting, it's your first time, you might as well wait. But if I wouldn't time it. Let's put it this way: just if you plan to mine, just mine. But even if you wait for a single asset, just like Abra said, you might be subject to both slippage, and there will be some also transaction fees because you are still converting. When you are adding single asset, you're affecting there is price effects, aka slippage. So it's not necessarily better. But Dreamcatcher did say, and then a few other members of Discord did mention that because it's a Rowan's purchasing power, pure Rowan single asset locking potentially could be more profitable.
Do you
marginally?
Sorry to interrupt you. Do you talk about with single asset bonding? Do you talk about staking or do you talk about like liquidity?
No. Single asset locking in the pool.
You mean like the asymmetrical ads?
Yeah, the asymmetrical one.
Yeah, but I mean that's like if you do an asymmetric liquidity ad, then it's like pretty much the same what happens in the background actually, as if you would like swap your asset that you want to provide liquidity with beforehand, and then like just add the liquidity symmetrical. Because what happens when you but
what I meant is that slippage varies. So this even behind the back swapping that occurs, even if you're just bringing Rowan, the outcome may vary. It's dynamic. So there's no way of predicting at which hour in the future it would be beneficial, even if the single asset asymmetric bonding will come back in an hour. It doesn't mean if you waited until then and suddenly jumped in and locked, it will be better than you do it now, because there are ARBs, there is this balance constantly traded due to trades in both directions, in particular, let's say Atom Pool. The balance is constantly changing. If you go to our data site, the beta data site of SwiftChain, you will see pools balance every second just change. If you keep up refreshing, all pools are very dynamic. And so if the point is, if you try to mine, I wouldn't wait. Just swap and lock.
I think that, and just to add a kind of final cap on what Let's Go was saying, and just keep it very short and sweet, is just that arbitrage opportunities, they come and go very quickly. And what Nick was saying was that if you do see an arbitrage opportunity and you would ordinarily add liquidity asymmetrically, you can just swap your asset first, and the mechanics work the same. But do be aware of slippage, of course, especially if you're trading in a smaller pool. So I think that about sums it up. Thank you, everyone. We're just right on time here. There's a lot going on still. The Validator Delegation Council as well is into the process of ramping up applications, and will likely have a new election coming up. So for the council, and yeah, we'll just keep everyone updated. Thank you so much for tuning in. Does anybody have any real quick feedback on this call? We also want to continue to iterate on these calls and make them better. If anybody wants to give any real quick feedback, that would be much appreciated. And that's kind of my final note for tonight.